Hello and welcome back to Elden Ring. This is part, I believe, 19 of our Dexterity run through the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. Last time we took out Romina and the entirety of Inir Ilum except for Radahn. We got the Folks, the Braided Cord armor set, Remembrance of the Saint of the Bud, a random chance drop of the Horned Warrior's Sword. We got the Inquisitor Ashes, the Euphoria, the Horned Warrior Ashes, I believe, chance drop of the Divine Beast Helm. We got the Greybird Helm, an Ancient Somber Stone, the Horned Warrior's Greatsword, Letta's Sword, Dane's Footwork, Letta's Armor, Mor's Bell Bearing, the Verdigris Great Shield and Armor Set, along with Freya's Greatsword and Armor Set. And then we tried to take on Radahn, a mixture of a few things, mostly my nerves. You can tell how that went. And this time, as you can see, we got a different armor set. We got new weapons. I pulled out the Naga Kiba and the Godskin Stitcher. And we also popped Morgoth's Great Rune, which at 60 points into the health stat gives us 475 HP. So hopefully that'll get us what we need. I also took off the finger seal because Bestial Vitality, while it's nice for going through areas, it gets you 600 HP over time. And something I noticed, I don't know if it happened in the boss fight, but something that Mimic Tier does a lot is they pop it when you're in the middle of a fight. And going through on a character that I wasn't recording, there was one time where Mimic Tier popped it 3 times back to back to back. And that's not something I want them to do during the Radahn fight, so I took the finger seal off. Well, with that being said, we can head on in. And we can hope for the best. I rolled too early.
A pleasure to see you, after all this time. But those remains do not belong to you. Lord Moog will have his dignity.
Something about recording just makes this fight so much more difficult. I think it's the mixture of wanting to talk to be entertaining and the nerves of being like, I'm recording, people might see this, so there's a pressure to perform because of that. It's like the observation effect. I don't know what it's actually called, but the change that happens when you're being observed, basically. And it just destroys people's ability to operate.
Lord Brother. At long last you are returned. Tarnished one. Aspiring Lord of the Old Order. If you have known sin, if you grieve for this world, then yield the path forward to us. To I, Mikola, and my promised consort, Radahn.
there's got to be an explanation as to why that happens. Like, why being observed affects anything. Because there's not really a... Like, it shouldn't change anything. Simply being observed, or even the idea of being observed, shouldn't hinder your ability to perform actions. And the fact that it can, and does, I rolled too early, but the fact that it can makes no logical sense. And that was just an unfortunate set of a few missed rolls. Especially the, like, grab attack. Because I was doing not really good, but I was doing fine. I was doing well enough to win the fight, and then he hit me with the grab attack, and it was all over very quickly after that. Which is unfortunate.
General Radahn, a pleasure to see you after all this time. But those remains do not belong to you. Lord Moog will have his dignity.
Sir, please. Oh, his stance broken. Why are we... Normally it teleports you very close to it. So, I'm going to assume that us being put there instead of the normal teleport location is probably because we got the critical hit. I rolled too early? Oh, that did way more damage than it normally does. And also, those two are taking way more damage than they normally do. And he's
Astonished. Become our new lord. A lord not for God, but for men.
oh. Jesus. They took way more damage than they normally do. And that is very unfortunate. And this is going to do a lot of damage. It surprisingly didn't hit me. I rolled too early on that. Cool. Yep. I was gonna say, like, unless I get a bleed, like, right the second, I'm not gonna win because, whew. That's it. As I said, more than anything, it really is just nerves. The thing is, Ansbach is doing pretty good. Like, he's doing way better than Talia. Because I was using Talia pre-buff. And pre-Radahn nerf. But Talia, like, basically never made it to phase 2. Whereas Ansbach is making it nearly to the end of the fight. Pretty much every time.
General Radahn, a pleasure to see you after all this time. But those remains do not belong to you. Lord
Should have jumped.
will have his dignity.
Sir, that was rude. Oh. Big explosion. No idea how to dodge that attack. I'm not sure if I've ever dodged that attack, honestly. Even when I wasn't rusty, and even without nerves, that one aerial attack still pretty much always got me. At least partially. I forgot to drink that. Whoopsie. And Mooncare's dead. just before that, I was gonna say, I think the Mutir's doing pretty well. And then that one attack just immediately killed him. I might have been thinking of Ansbach, though, because their health is still really good. Like, they still have over half health. I'm dead. How did I not die there? Like, yeah, he took a beating, but he's still alive with like 40% of his health. Ansbach is a god. He talks about how... Huh. Oh yeah, because you normally get that when you get grabbed, but we didn't get grabbed. Anyways, he says, like, oh, I could spend the rest of my life honing my craft, but that thing would still not be within my reach, and, like, yeah. Very difficult. So strange to me that I fought him twice now, like, without recording, and I've beaten him first try both times, and then I fought him twice recording, and both times I've struggled. And, I mean, the first time it was my first run, so I didn't know him, and this time, like, I haven't played in 5 weeks. I mean, I've had 2 parts, because 17, 18, and this part on 19, I'm playing back to back to back. So I've had a bit of a warm-up there, but still. But I think it is just nerves. And going like, now there's suddenly this pressure to perform. And that becomes an issue. But we did it. We beat him. We can touch the memory. And we can let this play itself out.
Promise me you'll be my consort. I'll make the world a gentler place.
I don't think we've ever gotten Radahn dialogue, have we? I don't think we have. So, is that something Radahn said yes to, or is it something that Mikola kind of slapped onto him? Who knows, who knows. But with Radahn dead, we can get St. Trina's Blossom. So Circlet of Light you get by watching the cutscene. It gives you 1 int Faith in Arcane. I'm not sure why it gives you a point into Arcane. Outside of Arcane is like the weird stat that you don't level, and there aren't a lot of things that increase it. Because there's a lot of ways to increase your health. There's a lot of ways to increase... I don't... Actually, are there a lot of ways to increase your mind? I actually don't know. It doesn't feel like there are. There's a lot of ways to increase... maybe not your endurance, but things around your stamina. There's a lot of ways to increase strength, dex, int, and faith. But not a lot of ways to increase arcane, so... that's the only reason I can see for that. But then St. Trina's Blossom boosts your max FP by a little bit. Not a lot, but at 32 mind it gets us 11, so... it also just looks kinda nice. Really good for if your character wants to do a certain aesthetic. One that's more wrapped around nature. Less like a full armor set and like a full normal armor set like this, or the Black Knight set, or the Hazlo set, you know, those... the armor sets that are specifically for damage negation, and they look the part. Less for those, more for Dryleaf set, or maybe the Prophet set. The ones that are more about looking good. St. Trina's Blossom is a nice cherry on top for those kinds of armor sets. But killing Radahn gets you that. And it also gets you Talier's weapon and set. His weapon is a fist. Although very easy to not see it. And because it builds up eternal sleep, it's good to have as an offhand option. So you can have your normal weapon like this in your right hand, and then have Talier's weapon in your left hand. So that way the enemies can get into a normal rhythm, and then you can just whip that out, hit them with a bit of eternal sleep. You probably won't actually get eternal sleep to proc, but just having that as a threat can scare people. And if you kept Ansbach alive, then you can get his set and his weapon in that incantation. And oh, it's way down here. Really wish that you could get this earlier. Signature weapon of the Pure Blood Knight Ansbach, a viciously keen and slender scythe made for combat. The obsidian edge relies not upon trickery to fulfill its violent purpose. Only well-honed skill is required to rip and rend through foes, sowing blossoms of red upon the battlefield. You know, rip and rend, like the Doomslayer. And unique skill, dynastic sickle play, a finessed, invasive skill that creates a space to maneuver, inputs dictate direction of the backstep, follow up with strong attack to perform an advancing upward slash, press strong attack again to bring the weapon back down. So, in my co-op based character, I actually ran into, I think it's been 2 different people who used this and almost exclusively used the skill. And it looks very cool. It's not that good in PvP because it's pretty easy and obvious. Like, easy to avoid, obvious to see. So, not really good in PvP, but it looks cool. It's pretty similar to Bloodhound Fang's skill. The Bloodhound's finesse. Pretty similar, if you've used that. But this is a bit of a problem I have with, with the DLC, and to a lesser extent from soft games in general, but especially with Shadow of the Erdtree, is you get a lot of really cool stuff like this, and it's stuff that I would love to use throughout the game, but then you just can't because it's locked behind a boss that's difficult at level 199. I mean, obviously I could have performed far better in the fight, but you get really cool stuff like this that you just can't really use. And so, me and a friend both have kind of this personal policy where if someone messages us and says, hey, can you drop this weapon or this armor set, we go for it. Like, if you message me and go, hey, I want to go through the game with the Obsidian Lamina, can you drop it for me? I'll have it on a few characters, and you can message me, we can arrange a place to meet, and I'll drop you some equipment if you want it. Because I typically have like 7 to 10 characters created at any given time. And so I just have a bunch of spare equipment, bunch of weapons, bunch of armor sets. I mean, most of them are in storage right now. But if you want like the braided cord set, or the dancer set, or Ansbach set, or dryleaf set, or the Greybird set, or if you want to do like a Spellblade build and you want Ralana's set, maybe her weapons, like, you can message me, you can ask me, we can arrange a time and place. I'm usually pretty active on Discord, so if you want something, I usually have a few lying around somewhere in my inventory. Might not have random drop stuff like Golem Fist, although I do have 2 of these actually, because I got the one here and one on another character, but the guaranteed drop stuff, I always have at least 3 or 4 of those. And if I don't, I'll just create a new character and go through the game. Because I really like playing these games. And I will find basically any excuse to go through the game and get some stuff. So, don't know if you can drop upgraded stuff, which, like, I have some upgraded stuff on this character, but me having upgraded stuff is pretty rare. I usually pick like 2 or 3 weapons to run with on a character, and I just stick to those weapons. I don't upgrade anything else typically. But I upgraded a ton of stuff on this character, as you can see, just so I could have some variety. Didn't really use that variety, but just in case. But with that being said, there's still a catacomb and Bonnie Jail, but I did those on the initial run. I missed some stuff here, but I can do it in the next 2 or 3 runs, because I'm going to do another 2, possibly 3 runs through the DLC, so I can do it. I can show all the stuff there. For now, I think we can end it. I think we can end this run. We just did Radahn. We got Remembrance of a God and a Lord. We got the Circlet of Light, Saint Trina's Blossom, Tali's Hidden Needle and Set, and Ansbach Set, the Obsidian Lamina, and Furious Blade of Ansbach. You can't leave incantations or sorceries, so can't drop any of those, but weapons, armor sets, talismans, I can drop stuff like that. I have a lot of Shards of Alexander lying around, and I've heard that those are quite popular, so want one of those? Ask me for one, and I'm sure that I'll be willing to drop it. But with that being said, yeah.